Anthony Albanese said on Wednesday. In a landmark speech setting out his government's policies, Albanese sought to allay public concern over AI, saying it could be adopted in a way that enhanced the national interest.
The centre-left leader said he would meet Australia's state and territory leaders next month to discuss the proposed new laws, which would be introduced next year to build trust in AI and protect national security. Australia had led other countries in imposing limits on social media use for children, but the challenge to shape AI in Australia's interest was greater and demanded action now. Albanese's announcement comes after it emerged this week that US startup Anthropic has lobbied Australian officials to change copyright laws to assist the training of AI models, minimizing water usage and ensuring they don't compete for land with housing. Investment in data centers was the largest contributor to the country's economic growth in the 3 months to March, according to government figures. Albanese said the government had not yet seen the impact of AI on the Australian jobs market. The government will elevate its response to artificial intelligence with a dedicated office in his department to oversee policy.
Now, older teenagers in the UK will face an overnight social media curfew, the government has announced, though they will be able to opt out of it by changing their account settings. It will mean apps such as Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube will be unavailable by default to 16 and 17-year-olds between midnight and 6 a.m.
The government also wants addictive features such as autoplay and infinite scroll to be set to be disabled, saying, combined with the curfew, the measures will improve teenagers' focus, sleep quality, and family life. However, campaigners such as Eileen Rome, who believes her 14-year-old son, Joe Sweeney, died in an online challenge gone wrong in 2022, does not think the plan goes far enough as teenagers can switch the setting off. The new plans follow the announcement in June that under 16s in the UK will be banned entirely from a range of platforms. It's not yet known where exactly the opt-out button will be. Parents currently have various options to control their child's screen time through the devices they use, as well as by changing settings on individual apps. In an earlier statement, Technology Secretary Liz Kendall said the measures would be crucial in helping young people get the sleep they need, focus on school in college, and spend more quality time with family and friends, all of which are fundamental to building a happy, healthy, and fulfilling adult life. The government said further measures will be aimed at helping children use AI chatbots safely, including by making providers introduce regular breaks for under 18s. It says it will aim to lay its new proposed measures in front of Parliament by the end of 2026, with the aim that they take effect alongside its social media ban for under 16s next spring. But some child safety charities and experts have cast doubts on the effectiveness or promise of a midnight curfew for older UK teens.
Keir Starmer has faced Kemi Badenoch at his final Prime Minister questions as a Prime Minister. It follows his final cabinet meeting earlier, during which some ministers shed tears, and the Prime Minister was presented with an engraved carriage clock on Friday. Starmer will step down as Labour leader and hand power to Makerfield MP Andy Burnham before leaving Downing Street on Monday. It comes, as Burnham says, a serious review of members of Parliament's security is needed following the death of Widdecombe. The killing of Widdecombe, a reformed UK spokeswoman and a former Conservative member of Parliament, is being investigated by counter-terror police. Meanwhile, the government has announced that older teenagers in the UK will face an overnight social media curfew, though they will be able to opt out if by changing their account settings.
This is my last exchange with the Right Honourable Gentleman, and I know how much his wife and children mean to him, and that they are in the gallery today. As everyone here knows, our families make a huge sacrifice for our choice to enter public life. So I hope he will allow me to draw our time together to a close by thanking them for the love and support they have given him throughout his time in office.
Hi, Minister.
Can I thank her very much for that? It is the last question I'll face from the Leader of the Opposition. And so let me wish her well and her family. We have had robust exchanges across this dispatch box, but she has extended kindness to me privately at very difficult times, including when there was an attempt to burn down our family home, which deeply affected my family. She reached out to me. And when my brother died of cancer, she reached out to me privately, not across this dispatch box. And I thank her for that and the tribute that she's just made to my wife and children, who mean the world to me. I do thank her for that. She knows this is robust and it has to be robust, and that's the way politics is done. But the kindnesses that sit behind it privately are often just as powerful, if not more powerful, and I thank her for that. I also stood at that dispatch box, Mr. Speaker, for 4 years as Leader of the Opposition. I know firsthand it's the most difficult.
Now, China's economic growth slowed sharply between the start of April and end of June as weak domestic demand and the Iran war's impact on oil prices overshadowed the country's strong exports. Official gross domestic product (GDP) figures show the world's second largest economic growth in the second quarter by 4.3%, below Beijing's annual target, and after a 5% rise in the first quarter. It comes a day after government data showed that China's exports jumped by 27% in June compared to a year earlier. In March, China cut the growth target to a range of 4.5 to 5%, its lowest economic expansion goal since 1991. A move some analysts say gives officials more flexibility in managing the economy. The announcement represents the first full quarter of GDP data since the start of the Iran war on February 28 and marks the lowest quarterly expansion since the end of 2022, as China was emerging from its strict COVID-19 restrictions. Separate data released on Wednesday highlighted the economic challenges Beijing is facing at home, including a long-running property market slump and weak consumer spending. Now, new home prices contracted again, although the 0.1% fall in June was at a slightly slower pace than previous month. But retail sales rose by 1% in June, improving from a 0.6% decrease in May. The situation will become more difficult to manage the longer the Iran war goes on, she added. Customs data for June, which was released on Tuesday, showed that China's tech exports were boosted by soaring global demand for semiconductors to power artificial intelligence data centers. Surging demand for Chinese electric vehicles also gave a major boost to China's exports, with monthly car exports topping 1 million for the first time. Still staying with China, it has detained a U.S. seismologist who tracks nuclear tests for nearly 2 years on espionage charges, his family says. Chen Yuling, a 54-year-old citizen, was arrested in November 2024 during a trip to Beijing to visit his family, according to hostage advocacy group Global Reach. The family decided to speak out after they saw no sign of Beijing freeing Chen. His wife, Rong Yufang, also a seismologist, said Chen worked closely with Chinese colleagues, and the allegations are both wrong and inconsistent with the public and collaborative nature of the work that he has done. It is unclear if and how Chen's work touched on Beijing's nuclear program. U.S. intelligence suggests that China is developing a new arsenal and has conducted secret tests, which Beijing denies. When asked about the case at a daily press briefing on Tuesday, China's foreign ministry said its judicial authorities handle cases in accordance with the law. Chen is currently the only U.S. citizen designated as wrongfully detained. In an interview with Reuters, she said Chinese authorities interrogated her husband more than 100 times on his work and that he wasn't allowed to see a lawyer for the first 13 months of his detention. Details around Chen's detention came a month after China confirmed that it had arrested another U.S. scholar, Ming Xing, a director at Myanmar-focused think tank. Beijing has accused Ming Xing of spying and endangering Chinese national security. Now, the Rastafarian community had argued that the ban on smoking cannabis infringed on the rights to freedom of religion and belief guaranteed under the Constitution. In a landmark judgment, Justice Bahati Mamuye said the community had failed to prove drug laws violated their constitutional rights, but acknowledged the need for a broader national debate on cannabis. There has been a continued push to legalize cannabis in Kenya, with advocates arguing that its regulated cultivation and trade could create jobs, boost tax revenue, and support industrial and medicinal uses. In their submission, the Rastafarians argued that smoking cannabis was part of their religious doctrine, which must be respected and upheld. But the state opposed their plea, arguing that creating a religious exemption would undermine the enforcement of Kenya's anti-drug laws and could create loopholes for illegal cannabis trafficking.
The Most High gave the herb for the service of man. So as a Rastafari priesthood, we know the herb to sanctify the environment, to chase away bad vibes, to cleanse, to invite the Holy Spirit, to invite the spirit of our ancestors.
We are defending our culture. We cannot continue to keep hiding ourselves as we practice our culture.
Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Act, possession of cannabis remains a criminal offense. More severe penalties apply to trafficking and other drug-related offenses. In the petition, the Rastafari Society of Kenya had argued that sacred sacrament in their faith and sought permission for followers to possess. It maintained it was not asking for the wholesale legislation of cannabis, but a limited exemption for religious purposes in private homes and designated places of worship. The judgment comes 7 years after another high court ruling recognized Rastafarianism as a protected religion in Kenya, finding that a school's decision to expel a student over her dreadlocks violated her constitutional rights. You're still on To the World News on AIT. We'll take a break at this point. There are more stories after the break. Don't go away.
The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, AIT_live, and AIT Livestream 1 on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live. In the hallowed chambers where laws are forged and a nation's destiny is decided.
This is your parliamentary program, Inside the Parliament on AIT.
Voices rise, opinions clash, debates ignite.
We cannot be apologetic in the discharge of our constitutional duties as lawmakers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The burden of proving that the elections have been conducted peacefully and in accordance with law must shift to INEC.
From the Senate to the House of Representatives, this is where policies are tested, laws are crafted, and authority is held to account.
We spoke to some lawmakers on their opinions of the document presented by the president.
Every motion, every argument carries the hopes of millions.
We need more hospitals, more health clinics in communities so that they can effectively take care of the primary health need of our people.
The questions are tough. The exchanges are intense.
Mr. President, you can have your way, but I will have my say. You can use the gavel, and I will use my voice.
And those who want the proviso are 55 in number. And so the proviso says.
But who truly stands for the people? Who is driving the change that defines our tomorrow?
Let us tell ourselves the truth. Why are we here talking about LGBT, GTBT, whatever?
Get the answers on Where Nigeria Decides on Inside the Parliament on AIT every Tuesday, 4:30 p.m.
Thanks for staying with us. The Nigerian Senate has approved a 50 million naira donation to the families of 3 security personnel and 2 teachers who lost their lives during the rescue of abducted school children from Orire local government area of Oyo State. The announcement was made during plenary by the President of the Senate, Gospel Akpabio, while commending the federal government and security agencies for the successful rescue of the children who spent about 56 days in captivity.
3 of the personnel who went for the rescue operations lost their lives. in the course of trying to rescue those children. An army lieutenant from Adamawa was killed, a police sergeant was killed, another private soldier was killed, and many were wounded. So on behalf of the Senate, we decided that also the teachers, 2 teachers that were in captivity with the children, were also murdered. So we've taken the motion, we've applauded government, we've applauded the security agencies, and we are pleading that the same be extended to any other part of the country where there may be any Nigerian in captivity. And so today we just felt, after discussion with the leadership, that we want to also support the victims' families. Like the young lieutenant was just 28 years old when he died in that operation. So we are sending a token of 50 million naira to them to be divided into the 5 deceased families. The family of the 2 teachers, the family of the 3 operatives who lost their lives, 10 million each, on behalf of the Senate. So if is this the view of the Senate? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes are.
Lawmakers also commended the efforts of the Chief of Army Staff, the Director General of the Department of State Services, DSS, the Inspector General of Police, the Minister of Defense, and President Tinubu for their roles in the operation. The upper chamber further urged the federal government and security agencies to sustain similar efforts in securing the release of Nigerians still being held captive in different parts of the country. That's the world news on AIT. Many thanks for watching. I am Enemaku Ajochegbe.
Three, two, one.
My name is Eugenio Gastelum, and I am a video game expert for the United Nations, and we use video games to change public spaces around the world. We go to the community, teach them how to play Minecraft, and then the community is the one that changes the public space into what they desire or what they need in Minecraft.
It's the best job in the world, you know. I'm playing video games, I'm traveling, I'm meeting people, I'm teaching, I'm improving my world.
When I was maybe 6, 7 years old, my father brought from the United States one of the first consoles that was in my neighborhood. We used to play tournaments of video games for 36 hours straight.
So my home then started to turn into this hub for video games and entertainment for all the neighbors. It's funny being a Mexican kid with a mother telling me every day to stop playing video games.
Juegue, 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 y horas y con los amigos. Podías hacer otras cosas en vez de estar tanto tiempo jugando videojuegos.
It took me maybe 20 years to teach her that it's okay to play video games, you know.
It was just a matter of time joining video games that I loved a lot and changing my surroundings, changing my community, changing at last the world, no? If I had a dream project, it became through Block by Block.
Block by Block is a program created by Mojang and UN Habitat where we use Minecraft to help community members redesign their neighborhoods.
UN Habitat provides the methodology, the funding through Block by Block, be the video game expert, urban experts, the supervision of the project, and all the planning for the workshops.
There's millions and millions of people who play Minecraft, millions of children who play Minecraft, and we've tied up with them to actually allow children as young as 6 or 7 to express their views on the redesign of a public space. And then we help put it into proper design and take it to city leaders and make sure that it gets done.
The project in Kosovo was in the center of the city, and we were building in an old marketplace. And the community started wondering about the possibility, for example, for having a skate park. And then everybody got excited about the skate park because there were no skate parks in Kosovo. Through Block by Block, the community was able to develop a park that included a skate park, which supervised that the community wishes are reflected through the whole process and are included in the final design.
Well, before, the area felt very cold and unsafe. So seeing my own idea as a kid, changing a whole area in my city, it was very special to me. So the reaction of the community was great, and to me it was a great feeling which I'll never forget.
If you do something in a video game and then it appears in real life, you notice that you have this power to change your community, to change the world, and you start getting involved in other projects. Maybe I don't have the full power to do whatever I think is better for the world. For example, I cannot stop climate change, right? So I learned that through teaching the newer generations, my power multiplies.
Minecraft. Yeah, at the end you're gonna see that everybody has the power to change the world. That's what I do, I change the world.
It's not only me changing the problems that we have, it's me and all the newer generations coming to help me, and then they will teach the younger generations, and like that maybe we will be able to fix most of the problems in the world. Hola, mamá.
Hola. Yo estoy muy contenta contigo. Yo me siento muy...
At an undisclosed location in South Africa's northwest province, these rhinos are being prepared for life in the wild. That's under a scheme by conservation NGO African Parks to rewild 2,000 captive-bred white rhinos. It's a move that could boost the world's wild southern white rhino population by up to 15%. African Parks project manager Donovan Juice said the aim is to rewild around 200 rhinos per year over the next 10 years to various protected areas across Africa.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime de-risking effort from a conservation initiative at scale that's never happened before. So I think for the species, it's a massive opportunity.
The rhinos were bought from private breeder John Hume. He sold the animals because of the high cost of protecting them. Poaching remains a severe threat in South Africa. 499 were poached in 2023, according to government data, an increase from the year before. Rhinos are targeted for their horns, which are in demand in East Asia for traditional medicines and jewelry.
The child shall in all circumstances be among the first to receive protection and relief in times of emergency and disaster.
UNICEF means the survival, development, and protection of children all over the world. Africa, Asia, South America, everywhere.
Ms. Hepburn traveled to virtually every area of the world where children and women are in need of assistance, giving them hope and comfort with her presence and tenderness.
Like to read to you something very, very important, and it moves me deeply to have this privilege. the preamble to the Convention on the Rights of the Child. The child needs love and understanding and shall have the right to grow up in an atmosphere of affection and security. The child shall be entitled to grow and develop in health and shall have the right to adequate nutrition, housing, recreation, and medical services. The child is entitled to receive education and an opportunity to develop abilities in order to become a useful member of society.
About 14 million jobs are threatened globally. That is according to the Director General of the International Labour Organization, that is ILO, Gilbert Ngo. That was part of his presentation at the just concluded International Labour Conference that took place in Geneva, Switzerland. Welcome to your #1 labour program from Africa to the rest of the world, the tripartite, the Worker, Employer, and Government Roundtable. I remain your host, Abulu Osemahu. Now, what I just told you is part of the presentation of the Director General at the conference. We'll give you the full track of what he said. Also, the Nigerian workers have said 70,000 naira minimum wage is too small, looking at the economic trends. So they have fixed July 2026 to begin negotiation. So we'll bring you a press briefing done by the organized labor during the International Labour Conference in Geneva, Switzerland, what they have to say and why they think July is when they will begin putting heads together for a new national minimum wage. Will they go by the 100,000 naira proposal of the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum, that is the governor of Kwara State, North Central Nigeria? Well, we will take a listen to the track of the Nigeria Labour Congress President and other speakers at that press conference. Now, there is an interesting development regarding reparation, and there was a framework adopted in Ghana, and African workers are reacting to that framework. What are they saying? We'll bring you the press statement by the International Trade Union Confederation on behalf of over 18 million workers in Africa. And when we talk about reparation, we're talking about the era of slave trade, talking about the era of colonialism, talking about apartheid. And up to now, there is a belief that persons of African descent suffer exploitation and neglect around the world. We will bring you that package in the course of the program. Also, we will not forget to give you global update, our usual news around the world.
My name is Mohammed Megardi Gadi, the Minister of Labor and Employment. You are watching the Tripartite program on AIT.
Tripartite string, we can conquer it all.
Welcome back. Now, let's quickly take you to the Director General's presentation, where he's concerned about jobs that might be lost due to the issues in the Middle East.
We meet at a time of profound uncertainty. The global economy remains fragile, and the crisis in the Middle East has emerged as a major source of risk for workers, for enterprises, for communities in general. Seafarers in the Strait of Hormuz, migrant workers in the Gulf countries, agricultural workers in southern Lebanon, and workers and enterprises across several sectors in Iran, among those mostly directly affected. The ILO, we moved quickly to assess the implications of this crisis for the world of work. Our latest employment and social trends updates shows that its effects are already spreading beyond the region through higher energy prices, as we all know, supply chain disruptions, weaker investment, and pressures on migration and remittances. In an already slow-growing global economy marked by persistent decent work deficits, the consequences could be significant. Under a prolonged oil shock scenario, we predict global hours worked could fall by the equivalent of 14 million full-time jobs this year and 38 million next year, with labor income losses reaching up to $3 trillion by 2027. The impact could be particularly severe in the Arab states, with spillovers across Asia and the Pacific. We know very well many governments have acted swiftly, yet coordinated and sustained measures remain essential. Strengthening social protection, supporting micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, and preserving jobs will be key to preventing this shock from becoming a lasting setback for decent work. This crisis is unfolding in labor markets already under strain. Progress in job quality has stalled. Informality affects more than 2.1 billion workers, and the transition to better quality employment.
Welcome back. Let's quickly also take you to the Nigeria Labour Congress decision, or probably preparation on the new national minimum wage. We also had an interaction with the Director General of Nigeria Employers Association. What has he got to say about a new national minimum wage?
The laws are clear on how to negotiate minimum wage. And after negotiation, it takes an act of parliament for it to come into law. If you ask me, the governors' forum, we are testing the waters. You know, if you watch the pronouncement from Imo State, you discover that Imo State is paying 104 as minimum wage. In some other states, they say by 2026 or 20, they will increase their own to 100,000. But one thing that is fundamental about this is to say that the governors know that 70,000 is no longer feasible and relevant. That's what I understand by that pronouncement. But whether they now know what it should be, I will tell you, heck no. You know, and we have to thank the governor of Kwara State and urge him to increase his own to 100,000 until minimum wage is negotiated. Because some other governors, when we agreed on 70,000, some paid 85, some paid 100. Now, I don't know why he should wait until minimum wage takes it to 100 for him to pay. If he understands the situation now, as the chairman of the Governors Forum, he should lead by example. However, the process of negotiation has not started. And we intend to, earliest by July, commence the process of negotiation. And the one is expecting him to go and back up his proposal with some statistics on why it should be 100,000 and why we should negotiate on the pages of newspaper. If he had gone there to whisper to the president that this is his suggestion and it was not made a media affair, it would be understandable. Now, all the organized private sector, government, states, government, federal, you know, and NLC, TUC, other, the Salaries and Wages Commission, other agencies are involved in the tripartite committee that negotiates minimum wage. So this is his own idea. At most, the idea of him and his colleagues, some of which are doing better than what he's proposing. So I don't want to belabor this matter. However, the governors outsmarted the president in last negotiation. That will interest you. That at the negotiating team, they say they can't pay more than 60,000. And we had a stalemate. It took a meeting between Labour and the president for us to gain 70,000. It took that meeting for us to reduce the number of years to 3 years, from 5 years. We proposed 2 years, and they refused. They insisted on 5 years. We now had to meet with the president before we got 70,000 and got 3 years. 3 years. Those concessions were gotten directly from the president. And it's important we look at this. Now, because the president said at that meeting that his concern is the subnationals. But as for the federal government, that they can pay 150. I'm quoting him. But that his concern is for the subnationals. And you cannot see that the subnationals are now paying than the federal that adopted 70. Now you see some of them paying 100, 80, whatever. The same people that say that the committee that they can't pay more than 60,000. So, and they have come again to go and show a card to the president. So maybe when we negotiate this time around, all this information should be made bare so that you see how far people can do and pay higher than the federal government. So the states are paying higher than the federal government now. So whether it should be the right thing, whereas majority of the states depend on, you know, allocation, what they get from the federal government.
We had, during the briefing of the organized labor, back to the minimum wage issue, they say they want to commence conversation around July. Are you on the same page with that?
Absolutely, we align with the conversation that we start early. Earlier we start the background conversation, the earlier we start aligning our interests and aligning positions, the easier the negotiation will be. And for us, it is it is what it is, you know. For whatever conversation we are going to have, it is our responsibility as social partners to find the balance between the 4 or 5 pillars that we have. We must find a balance between the general economic situation. We can't run away from it, because that is the foundation on which everything will stand. We can't run away from the needs of workers and their families. We can't run away from it. We can't run away from enterprise sustainability. If the business is not standing, we won't talk of jobs, we won't talk of salaries. And then we can't run away from a very core issue that we've always run away from, the issue of productivity. So we must find a way to bring those 4 into port, and then find the critical balance, because that is where the issue is. You know, finding the balance between those 4, and then we arrive at a workable minimum wage. But that we should start early. I think we need to start that conversation early.
Let me close by asking, what would you propose for minimum wage?
Now, I will not fall into the trap of the governor of the chairman of the governors forum. Whatever we are, the issue, the concern is not the figure he mentioned, but what is the parameter? What are the components that made them to arrive at that figure? Because moving forward, from our past experience, we will insist that whatever we are arriving at must be backed up by data, must be backed up by research, and those research must be evidence-based, so that anybody that sees it, we know this 5 naira is an outcome of X plus Y plus Z all over blah, 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 equals this.
But do you take home 70,000 naira as with the economic situation? Are you proud still paying 70,000?
70,000. Ideally, will you find 70,000 is minimum wage, and let's just be clear about it. It's the minimum below which nobody can pay. And for us, 70,000 in the context of now cannot take anybody home. In fact, we've had conversations with employers that are employers in this year that have reviewed salary 2 times. I was also shocked, but we had conversations with MDs that, look, because of the current economic situation, they've had to review salaries 2 or 3 times within the last 6 months. So that shows the responsiveness of some employers. Yeah, there will be some employers, by reason of different reasons, they could not increase salary, they could not do what they are supposed to do by reasons of their current economic situation. But those that are doing this, then we should give them kudos. That's, look, if you can increase salary twice within the context of 1 year, because of your responsiveness to the economic situation, I think those ones deserve kudos. And others that couldn't do it, then we should also interrogate why exactly are they not doing it? Why exactly can they do it? You know?
Hi, you're watching Tripartite TV, and you should stay tuned. My name is Patty Sianga Knudsen. I am from Zambia and currently living in Denmark, and I'm the lead coordinator for the African Non-State Actors Platform on Migration and Development. Keep watching Tripartite TV.
Tripartite string, we can conquer it all.
Welcome back. It's a disturbing situation in Africa that traces of slave trade, colonialism, and apartheid still trail the continent. But good news is that there is a reparation framework. But how will that go down? Let's take a listen to this package. It's drawn from a statement issued by 18 million workers. And on their behalf, the International Trade Union Confederation Africa Regional Office, based in Togo. Over 18 million workers affiliated to the African Regional Organization of the International Trade Union Confederation, ITUC Africa, have welcomed the adoption of the Global Framework for Reparation Justice. The framework was adopted at a high-level, next-level conference held in Accra, Ghana. In a statement signed by the General Secretary of ITUC Africa, Ahato Joel Odije, the workers' body described the framework as a historic milestone in the long struggle for justice, dignity, and redress for the crimes of slavery, colonialism, apartheid, and the continued exploitation of Africa and the people of African descent across the world. According to the General Secretary of the ITUC Africa, the adoption of the 19-point framework comes at a defining moment following the recent United Nations General Assembly's resolution recognizing the transatlantic slave trade and slavery as the gravest crimes against humanity. ODGA noted that the development reflects growing global recognition that historical injustice cannot merely be acknowledged but must be redressed through concrete and transformative efforts. The ITUC Africa says for African workers, reparation justice is not only about the past, it is also about confronting present-day realities of structural inequality, underdevelopment, debt burdens, illicit financial flows, economic dependency, and persistent racial discrimination that continue to limit opportunities for working people across Africa and in the diaspora. The statement added that the wealth extracted through slavery and colonialism helped build prosperity for some nations while entrenching poverty, exclusion, and inequality for many others. Therefore, the ITUC supports the framework's call for formal apologies, restitution of cultural heritage, equitable compensation, debt relief, and institutional reforms. The African Workers' Body says it particularly welcomed efforts to establish international mechanisms capable of advancing implementation and ensuring accountability, while it calls on governments, international institutions, employers, and social partners to engage constructively in the process.
My name is Perpetual Forian Pofo. I'm the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Keep watching Tripartite on AIT.
Tripartite strength, we can conquer it all.
Welcome back. Let's quickly take you around the world. You hear the development among workers' groups and what government policies regarding workers' welfare is doing in some countries. And also, what is the role of employers in ensuring that the workforce is maintained?
Two years have passed since bus driver was added to a list of job categories for which foreign workers can receive specified skilled worker resident status under a program aimed at hiring them in fields facing labor shortages. Those who have received this resident status are now driving buses nationwide, and attention is being paid to whether the program will contribute to safe bus operations. In spring, Kanagawa Prefecture saw its first female bus driver with a Type 1 specified skilled worker resident status. Although Tokyu Bus maintains that it is not facing a driver shortage, of the 100 new drivers it aims to hire every year, the company plans to have about 10% be foreign workers who hold the residency status. The government expects to accept about 22,100 foreign workers by the end of March 2029 under the resident status for the automobile transportation business, allowing them to stay in Japan for up to 5 years. According to the Tokyo-based Nihon Bus Association, as of the end of May, there were 26 foreign drivers holding specified skilled worker status in the Tokyo metropolitan area. A story the Tripartite is tracking on Dublin Live says the back-to-school clothing and footwear allowance will be paid from July to 100,000 Irish families. The social welfare scheme provides a once-off payment to eligible families towards the cost of school clothing and footwear. Last year, 144,000 families in respect of 256,000 children benefited. The rate of payment for 2026 is €160 for children aged 2 to 11 and €285 for children aged 12 years and over in second-level education. The majority of payments will be paid automatically with no application form required. Applications for the payment opened earlier in June 2026 for those who do not automatically qualify. Most families who qualify will receive their payment during the week beginning July 13. However, applications will remain open until the end of September. The scheme has been extended this year to include children aged 2 and 3 for the first time. Qatar has unveiled new job opportunities for Nigerian professionals starting in 2026, opening doors for skilled workers to join its expanding energy sector. The roles focus on field operations across utility, inlet receiving, sulfur recovery and LNG facilities, offering a chance to contribute to safe and reliable plant operations. Interested candidates were encouraged to register their interest and become part of Qatar's diverse community of experts. The government of Uganda has announced a major shift in the recruitment of staff for district and city local governments, with all future recruitment processes set to transition to an online system. The move is aimed at reducing physical interaction between applicants and recruitment officials, cutting paperwork, improving transparency, and eliminating corruption in public service hiring. According to the Ministry of Public Service, the new e-recruitment platform will enable job seekers to submit applications electronically, upload academic and professional documents online, and receive notifications digitally throughout the recruitment process. The system is also expected to automate shortlisting and standardize recruitment procedures across all districts and cities. Government officials say one of the key objectives is to minimize direct contact between applicants and District Service Commission officials, a practice that has for years been linked to bribery, favoritism, document handling challenges, and recruitment irregularities.
Welcome back. Now, as you say on this program, workers' lives matter, employers' business matter, government policies matter, pensioners' welfare matters, persons with disabilities' rights matter, citizens' rights matter, and the tripartite cares. So, any segment of this program is open for sponsorship. Support and collaborate and partner with us. I remain your host, Abulu Osemwahu. Let's do this again.
For 2 years, Precious Mbomboli took pills daily to prevent infection with HIV, the virus that causes AIDS. But the 21-year-old is among the first in Zambia to receive a new injectable prevention drug.
For 2 years, yes.
I changed the new injectable on 25th February because the pill was difficult for me, as I used to forget to take it. Sometimes I was not at home at the time of taking the medication, so the injection makes me feel better and confident.
The new drug is known as cabotegravir, long-acting. Each shot prevents infection for 6 months. Zambia is the first low or middle-income country to offer the drug to the public. Lina Mwango is technical director of the local non-profit CHEP Zambia.
Our target age group for this is adolescent girls and young women who are aged 16 to 24, as well as we're reaching out to their sexual partners.
Local representatives called connectors are helping roll out the program.
The connector is based in the community. We do community mobilization, we do community sensitizations, we go on screen the girls that are eligible for dreams, those that are eligible get to be enrolled.
The U.S. government has donated nearly 15,000 vials of the drug known as cabotegravir. That's enough to protect 2,000 Zambians against HIV for 1 year, the U.S. Embassy says. But experts say people who get the shot still need to take precautions.
People get the injection and then they think it's a silver bullet, in that then they can go out and sleep around. And really the message here is that that's not why this drug has been brought on board. to realize that this drug does not prevent pregnancies, it doesn't prevent other sexually transmitted infections.
About 1.4 million Zambians are living with HIV, with about 33,000 new infections per year. Experts hope the new drug can help bring those numbers down. Kathy Short, VOA News, Lusaka, Zambia.
There is no greater job as being a mother than any other job on earth.
The woman is the mother of the murderer. The woman is also the mother of the peacemaker.
They must learn to say no to evil.
Be involved in raising your children.
I'm so concerned that a lot of the children, our children in Nigeria, do not have access to good quality education. Their parents simply cannot afford it.
Good parenting is vital to nation building.
A woman is able to program a child to be who he should be.
Actually have to make an effort at home. It all begins at home.
There's this popular saying, monkey see, monkey do.
Parents make one child seem more important than the other.
Just because your mother was a drug addict or trafficked or on the streets or whatever, that does not shape who you are.
I want you to always remember that you are stronger than you know.
It is important for a woman to critically look at your environment, at your situation, and see what you can do to add value to yourself and add value to your family.
Don't be a victim. Be the player that wins. I came from a family of 10 kids, 10 children. We are 10 because I came out from a polygamous family. I grew up in Ibadan. I had all my education from primary education to tertiary education, all in Ibadan. I am married. I've been married for 10 years. I have 3 kids, a boy and 2 girls. I'm an entrepreneur. I can say I am a farmer because my business is selling of farm produce. And I'm into animal husbandry too. So I'm an entrepreneur. I grew up in a polygamous family, in a family of 10 children. My mom is late. She died when I was just about 11 years old. I was in secondary school then, like just want to be precise. So my primary education, my secondary education, my tertiary education, everything was in Ibadan. So growing up, like normal life, I grew up like a normal girl. Although I was trained by my stepmother. She's a very good woman. But, you know, at times when you know this particular person is not your mom, so there's that kind of difference between it. Growing up was fun because there are so many things about growing up to say which time would definitely not permit me. So as a young girl then, I have dreams, I have ambition. I pursued my career in mass communication at the Polytechnic Ibadan. I had my HND, but along the line I couldn't further my education, not due to a monetary aspect or anything, but just girls' life, I think about that time, that was when I met my husband and family life began. And ever since, it's all been good. My motherhood journey is a very interesting one. Being a mother is something that really gives me so much joy, because when I look at my children and I look at them, and these are my really kids that actually came out from me, I always give glory to God for that. And being a mother, it's a kind of challenging job, that I say. It's a challenging job that you can't quit, you can't stop. It just has to go on like that. So motherhood is a very interesting aspect of my life, because as about the time when I was having my children, one faced one difficulty and another, but all through it all, looking at the kids and seeing them healed and healthy today gives me so much joy. That made me forget most of the pains that I went through when I had them. Like when I had my first child, that's about 10 years ago. As in when I first knew I was pregnant and all that. All the stories that comes with giving birth, pregnancy, all scary stories you hear from people here and there. But with it all, one, I had no choice. I was pregnant, and I have to have the baby. So during my pregnancy period, it's a very challenging one, because in my own case, God made these things easy for some people than others. Like when I was pregnant, the vomiting, spitting here and there, I started my own from the first month till the 9th month. Like unlike some people, when they start the first trimester, it stops. They behave like normally, like as if even you know some people, like women are even pregnant. But in my own case, I was lean, I was out of shape, my beauty faded, everything gone. I look so pale. In fact, if you see me, you think I'm sick or something. I mean, you think I'm a sickle cell somebody or something like that. So I went through this very painful part of pregnancy, even till the last month that I had my baby. And then when I was about to have my baby, I remembered very well then, when I fell into labor, the doctor was like, my pelvic is too small, as in to let the baby out and all that. So I labored for like 12 hours or more. Eventually, I went through cesarean section to have my baby, of which, then before I gave birth, I was like, no, I reject it. I will give birth like the Hebrew woman and all that stuff. But unfortunately, I gave birth through cesarean section, which is normal to me, though it's kind of painful. But when you see your baby, the joy, all that pain vanishes.
Exceptional mom, shape the future.
So when I had my second baby, in fact, that one it's a very interesting story, because then when I got pregnant, my first child was a boy. I was like, God, I need a girl. I want my splitting image. I want my replica. So when I was pregnant, I got pregnant. The first scan I did, I was told it's a girl. That gives me so much joy. I was so happy that at last I'm going to have a girl. But along the line, as time goes on, as actually the scan keeps seeing a girl, so my tummy is getting big and bigger and bigger and bigger virtually every day. So even each time my husband looks at me, he will be like, are you sure it's only one baby that is in this tummy? So even till the 7th month, I remember very well, the 7th month when I went for the normal antenatal, my doctor was like, Madam, I don't think it is only one baby that is inside this tummy, because this tummy is rather too big for a baby. He was even particular about my baby being excessively overweight, that it's not good for labor and all that. So he now directed me to a particular hospital to do the scan then. So when I went there, immediately I got there, the doctor was like, has anybody told you you're carrying 2 girls? I was like, wow. At the 7th month, and you know, before then, we would have made arrangement for the first, for just 1 baby girl, buy baby things, baby clothes and all that. So me and my husband, we had to like start rushing to buy double and all that. And to the glory of God, when I went for the scan, that was the 7th month. That was about 2 weeks for me to enter the 8th month. It was that exactly 2 weeks that I went into labor. In fact, that morning, I just, like my normal routine, I would vomit in the morning, then brush my teeth before having breakfast. So as I finished all those, I was about eating when I just felt the water burst and all that. I was rushed to the hospital. But earlier before then, when I had the scan, I was told one of the babies was breached. So one was kind of blocking the other. So when I was taken to the hospital, you know, the doctors examined me, did another scan and all that. The baby was still breached. So they were like, there's no other option than to go for another cesarean section. So that really didn't scare me because I had it the first time. So it's no big deal. So that was how, in fact, my second delivery, I even thank God that one wasn't prolonged. Unlike the first one that was prolonged, thinking I would be able to bring forth the child myself, but eventually I couldn't. So the second one, it wasn't prolonged before they took me to the theater and the cesarean section was performed and they brought out my babies. So it was a thing of joy for me then, having 2 girls at the same time. Not just 2 girls, 2 beautiful girls at the same time. Yeah, there are lots of challenges that comes with motherhood. Being a mother, like Ahelia said, is not an easy job at all, especially when those kids are still toddlers. Like myself, when I had my first child, you know, that's sleepless nights. Those sleepless nights, those midnight cries of babies, it's kind of very, very tough for me, because then I'm somebody that has migraine just easily. Any slightest provocation like this or any kind of stress, no matter how, my migraine will just pop up. So then all those sleepless nights, taking care of baby in the middle of the night, and they are kind of funny. You know, that was my first time of being a mother. So it was very, very challenging for me to wake up in the middle of the night. You know, at times after feeding the baby, they will refuse to sleep. They will still not sleep. You'll have to rock them, carry them here and there. And in my own case, my husband wasn't helping at all because he's a heavy sleeper. So that one is a challenge on its own. And taking care of the baby, you know, the times the baby falls sick, especially their teething period and all that. At times they will be hot. They will develop fever. You won't even know what to do. You just be running helter-skelter. You know, all those kind of things, especially new mothers, those that has not been in the journey before, those that doesn't even have the experience before. It's kind of tough. And from the stage where they become toddlers, they start crawling, you know, and all that. And in my own case, when I had my twins, it was even tougher. You know, when I had just 1 baby, then I was thinking, oh, this is too much and all that. But when I had twins, that one was even another one on its own. It's a kind of very tough job. And my girls then, they were words and opposites. One will be like, there's nothing you will do for her that will make her stop crying, especially in the middle of the night. And one eats than the other, you know, that kind of thing. And then breastfeeding 2 babies at the same time, it's a very tasking job. And their toddler stage, taking the care of them and all that. Motherhood is good. It's a very interesting part of my life. Very interesting, very challenging, it takes time and it takes a lot of patience. You know, children, you have to be a very patient person, somebody to understand them, to understand what they want at a particular time, to take care of them and all that. And with God, one will be able to push through. I learned a lot from my mother. Even though I was still very young as at that time, I know my mother to be a very hardworking woman. I know her to be a very strong woman. I know her to be a good listener. I know her to be somebody that watches over her kids jealously, that she doesn't want anything at all to happen to us. And I think I took after her hard work because she struggles a lot. I know my mother then to be a woman that does so many businesses at a time. She can combine like 3 businesses, 4 or even more together at a time, as little as I was then. So I really took after her for that. Then I know her to be a very religious and godly person because she prays a lot. She prays a lot. My mother then, she's the CAC woman, you know, those women that doesn't wear jewelries. They just believe, in fact, she doesn't make her hair. Then, if I can remember very well, so she's the one that, she's a religious person and very, very prayerful. So as little as I was then, I took all those after her. My advice for stay-at-home moms who have dreams is that they should pursue their dreams. Having babies, being a mother, doesn't stop one from being what she wants to be in life. Yes, they should pursue their dreams. Just like I said earlier, in my own case, it was my own decision because, you know, we have different abilities. We have the way we handle things. If I still want to go back into my career, I can still do that. Now that my kids are grown, they can stay with nannies. I can be rest assured that they'll be taken care of, you know, unlike when they were toddlers. So they can pursue their dreams. Being a mom, having children doesn't stop women from being what they want to be. We have so many career women out there. So many career women, and they are doing great. We have women that are professionals, that are even better than men in their area of specializations. So being a mom shouldn't stop someone from pursuing their careers. No, it shouldn't. It might affect them as in at some point in time, but they can always adjust. They can always adjust as time goes on. And it is not a good advice for women. I am not saying that stay-at-home moms, they are jobless or they don't have future or anything like that. But it's always advisable for we women to be able to lay our hands on something, as in to be able to be capable of doing things of our own, on our own. You understand? Making our own money and taking charge of our own life. It's always advisable. And we have so many women out there that we can look up to, that are role models. So my advice for stay-at-home moms, they can still pursue their careers.
Exceptional mom, shape the future.
Every mom's vision board should be building a better tomorrow, which starts from our home, from how we raise our children, from the kind of knowledge we impact into them, from the kind of training we give them. That is what they will pour out in the society. Because the society that we are today, even those that rule us, if we look at it very well, their charity, like the saying that says charity begins at home. So our vision as mothers is to raise a good, great, well-behaved generation. We should raise our children in the way in which they should go. We should put the fear of God inside of them. We should impact knowledge inside of them so that they will become good citizens. They will be able to be useful for themselves and to their own society. So that should be every mother's vision. We can discover our children's creative ability through what they do. We study them. You know, children, even right from age 2, we can easily detect or see in them what they love doing. And that is what they'll be doing till they grows up. So we can easily discover it through certain things they do. Like my own children, like my son, I've known him to be a very intelligent boy while he was still very small, like age 2. Because as at then, when he was 2 years old, he can easily tell you he's 2 years old. Unlike some kids that doesn't really talk at age 2, he will tell you he's 2 years old. He even knows my mobile number offhand. He can tell you my mobile number offhand. So from there, I know he's an intelligent boy. And he likes to do stuff. He likes to detect things by himself. You know, maybe, like let's say, for example, I place something here. At times, he will just look at it and ask me, Mommy, what is this? How was this thing made? What is it made of? What's the use? And all that. You know, from there, we will detect their creative ability. Most children nowadays that becomes, most people nowadays that becomes professional, maybe doctors, engineers and all that, I am sure they started all this while they were still very young. Even music stars. If we listen to some interviews of some music stars, you hear them say they started singing while they were very small. Maybe from church, maybe from the school choir and all that. So from there, we can be able to detect their creative ability, what they love doing most. And it's always advisable not to direct them, not to put them out of that part. In most cases, you know, parents, they will be like, I want my child to be a doctor, I want my child to be a medical doctor, I want my child to be an engineer, I want him to be this, want him to be that. And meanwhile, the child has something up his head that he wants to be, but we will be telling them this is what we want them to be. So as soon as we discover their creative ability, I think we should, as much as possible, help them, groom them in that way, even if we are not satisfied with it, because God gives us different kind of brains. So in their own way, we can easily detect their creative ability in so many ways.
It's been 3 years since President Bola Tinubu was sworn in as a Nigerian leader. He promised to fix the economy, address rising insecurity, create jobs, and fight for the interests of citizens both home and abroad. As President Tinubu seeks re-election in 2027, has he delivered on his promises? And does his performance so far merit a second term? AIC News begins a special May 29 review countdown series, where we interrogate the Tinubu administration's deliverables across various sectors of national life. Join us on the AIC News Hour from May 18, 2026.
The fight against corruption has been a selling point for Nigerian politicians, many of whom are challenged by credibility crises themselves. Throughout the country's history, including the period of military interregnum, the dominant reason for interventions has been public sector corruption. It was certainly no surprise that President Bola Tinubu also sang the same tune. The problem, though, is that few believed the president could deliver on this.
Our government will continue to take proactive steps such as championing a legislative culture to discourage corruption.
Few months into his administration, a major financial scandal broke out in the Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation Ministry. It became the first test of President Tinubu's avowed commitment against corruption. The two principal actors involved, the then Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Betta Edu, and the National Coordinator and Chief Executive Officer of the National Social Investment Program Agency, were suspended in January 2024. The president then ordered an investigation by the EFCC. 2 years after, the outcome and report of the investigation is unknown. The individuals also are actively back in the political arena. So, what did President Bola Tinubu's anti-corruption war achieve? On paper, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) insists its enforcement output has risen sharply over the last 3 years. Data from the commission shows 3,175 convictions secured in 2023, peaking at an all-time high of 4,111 in 2024. According to the House Committee on Financial Crimes, another 3,175 convictions were logged as of October 2025. Financially, the recoveries follow a similar upward trajectory. Assets moved from over 156 billion naira and $46 million in 2023 to more than 364 billion naira and $214 million in 2024. By September 2025, total recoveries hit 566 billion naira, $411 million, and over 1,500 forfeited properties. Yet, public perception tells a completely different story. The case of former Delta State Governor Ifeanyi Okowa is a prime example driving public skepticism. The EFCC questioned Okowa in 2024 over the alleged diversion of state funds. But nearly 2 years later, Nigerians are still asking, has he been cleared, or is the case been suppressed? If the investigation is active, why the prolonged silence? Similar transparency concerns shroud the $18 billion reportedly spent on rehabilitating 4 state-owned refineries under the NNPC Limited. The sluggish pace of high-profile accountability leaves citizens questioning whether the anti-graft campaign is sincere or merely selective, even with the ongoing high-profile prosecution of Nasir El-Rufai and the conviction and 75-year sentence of former Minister of Power Salim Mamman. Lead Director of the Center for Social Justice, Eze Onyekpere, believes there is a lack of consistency in the fight against corruption.
The expectation is that these cases should have been investigated. Those who prima facie evidence has been established against are arraigned before courts and prosecuted, and some of them jailed, or whatever is the punishment.
Internationally, the outlook is equally stagnant. On Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index, Nigeria scored 25 out of 100 in 2023, ranking 145th globally.
A very warm welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining us again. It is Environment Today on Africa Independent Television, your show where we x-ray environmental and public health issues that confront you and I daily. We also seek experts' views on how best they can be addressed. I am yours truly, the Environment Diva, Nkoli Omodu. Thanking you for making our time to be with us again on this episode of the program. As usual, I'll be taking you around the world for environment and public health issues that made the rounds in the last 1 week. I will be right back. As the sun rises daily, our environment changes. Shall we say human? Technology or our negligence towards the environment caused us a lot of global warming, degradation, or pollution. I'm Nkoli Omodu, journalist, global environmental analyst, and host of Environment Today on AIV. Join me in the environment capital of discussion in Nigeria, Africa, and the world on what is happening in our society, how we can improve our environment culture. I speak to newsmakers, environmentalists, activists, and game changers. The bold moves, big issues, solution topics. It's all right here. Make Environment Today on AIT your weekly watch.
Pangolins are facing a crisis. They are the most trafficked mammals in the world. Over 1 million have been sold illegally since 2000. Pangolins may disappear forever if we don't protect them now. Say no to illegal pangolin trade and report wildlife crime. Keep them wild and keep us safe.
More than half the deaths so far have occurred in Cox's Bazar, home to a large Rohingya refugee population. Last week, several students and a teacher were killed in that district when flood waters swept through their school. Bangladesh is a low-lying country that has many rivers and often sees heavy rain and floods during its annual monsoon season. But experts warn that climate change has made rainfall more intense and more frequent. The heavy rain began more than a week ago, and as it intensified in recent days, authorities issued warnings about floods and landslides, evacuated families in high-risk areas, and postponed students' exams. Thousands of people are now living in government shelters. As of Sunday, more than 1 million people have been affected by the rain, according to authorities. 28 out of 51 deaths reported so far have been in Cox's Bazar this Monday.
The quiet disappearance of a forest elephant, the shrinking habitat of the Nigeria-Cameroon chimpanzee, and the growing threat to the Cross River gorilla. These are warning signs that Nigeria's natural heritage is under increasing pressure. At this 37th annual general meeting of the Nigerian Conservation Foundation, conservation experts renewed calls for stronger public participation in protecting the nation's biodiversity and restoring degraded ecosystems before more species are lost forever. The foundation says while progress has been made in conserving endangered wildlife and restoring landscapes, the country has only scratched the surface.
It's very important for us to continue in the trajectory that we are going and even do more, because there's much more to be done. Habitat restoration is there. Our landscapes are being degraded. We need to have more protected areas, call them OECMs, or we'll call other effective conservation measures that we have.
Chairman of the Foundation's National Executive Council, Justice Bukola Adebiyi, says NCF's 5-year strategic plan will leverage technology to improve project monitoring, accountability, and conservation impact across the country.
In our strategic action plan that we commenced last year, we agreed and decided to invest more in technology so that at the click of a button, we can say at what stage each project is, who are the field officers in charge, what was the aim of the project, how far have we covered. So we're deploying technology, we've invested heavily in technology, and the investment is going to continue over the next 5 years.
The gathering also witnessed the decoration of Nigeria's former Vice President, Yemi Oshibajo, as the new president of the Nigerian Conservation Foundation, who urged Nigerians to see climate action as an opportunity to embrace green jobs, renewable energy, and other sustainable livelihoods.
The notion that using renewable energy, which we have in abundance, we can actually advance our economic objectives much more speedily, create more jobs and create more opportunities. So I think that we're going to focus a great deal on the development opportunities that climate change offers, the jobs it offers, the new opportunities it offers, the great vistas that it opens up.
As climate and biodiversity threats continue to intensify, conservationists insist that protecting Nigeria's forests, wildlife and ecosystems is an investment in the country's future, economy and the survival of generations yet unborn. For many Nigerian families, the true cost of tobacco is measured not just in hospital bills, but in lives cut short, lost income, and children forced to care for sick loved ones. Determined to change this reality, government officials, researchers, and civil society organizations are exploring how evidence can drive more effective tobacco control. At the center of discussions is the Tobacco Control Dashboard, developed by the Center for the Study of the Economies of Africa, CC, designed as a one-stop platform providing data on tobacco use, taxation, illicit trade, industry interference, emerging products, and their health impacts. The executive director of CC, Chukwuka Onyekwena, says tobacco control is no longer only a health concern, but an economic, governance, and development issue requiring coordinated action across all sectors.
Nigeria has made commendable progress in tobacco control through the enactment of the National Tobacco Control Act and the National Tobacco Control Regulations, as well as its commitment to the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. These achievements provide a strong legal and policy foundation for protecting public health. However, legislation alone is insufficient. The effectiveness of tobacco control ultimately depends on implementation, enforcement, interagency coordination, sustainable financing, continuous surveillance, and the ability of policymakers to respond to emerging industry strategies with credible evidence.
The regional program leader of the Tobacco Control Data Initiative, Simbe Ali, notes that tobacco companies are increasingly targeting young people through sophisticated digital marketing, making timely evidence and coordinated responses more important than ever.
We've spent many years building tools that have turned evidence into something the ministry can act on, something that civil society coalitions can organize work around, and journalists such as yourself, sir, can take and turn into a story that helps us to shift public perception. So it's important for us to also bring our digital tools and our tactics as well, so that the regulations that have been historically slow to catch will now be able to be met up in a faster pace.
Participants also called for expanding the dashboard to address existing gaps, including tobacco-related agricultural data, to make it a truly comprehensive national resource.
The ability to generate, access, interpret, and apply credible, high-quality data is increasingly important. Platforms and initiatives such as the Tobacco Control Data Initiative, TCDI, plays a critical role in strengthening decision-making, supporting advocacy, and promoting accountability across all stakeholders.
Beyond lung cancer, it is associated with cancers of the mouth, throat, esophagus, cervix, bladder, pancreas, and several other organs. Every single step we take to reduce tobacco use is a step towards preventing avoidable cancers, improving health outcomes, and saving lives. As the dashboard continues to evolve, we see exciting opportunities to further strengthen its reach by translating this rich data into practical advocacy tools and state-level evidence that can support decision-making and accelerate tobacco control efforts across Nigeria.
Countries are required to establish robust tobacco surveillance system. And not only establishing it, to fund it. not only funding it to ensure that it works, for us to monitor trends and determinants of tobacco and nicotine products, because these are key risk factors for non-communicable diseases.
Some of the gaps that would necessarily be improved upon has something to do with including agriculture in the Nigeria dashboard. I think Kenya and one or two other countries have agricultural farming, but the dashboard in Nigeria mentions a bit about it but does not go into detail. So it is anticipated that this is the next direction, and that will then information like number of acreage on tobacco farms, children on tobacco farms, those issues that will make for ultimately policy intervention to address those issues.
With stronger evidence, effective enforcement, and greater collaboration, stakeholders believe Nigeria can better protect future generations from the devastating human and economic consequences of tobacco use. For most of our history, humans lived in harmony with nature.
But we have shared in the balance, exploiting our planet for product and wealth.
Creating a climate catastrophe, driving species to extinction, and polluting our land, sea, and air.
The sight is clear. Time is running out.
We must go from harming our planet to healing it. We must protect what we have and bring back what we have lost to have more sustainable future where everyone
can survive. Because there is only one Earth, and so we must protect it.
There's a massive desertification that's just coming in.
If you keep eating pangolin, you will not even see pangolin. And that means at the end of the day, we'll end up telling our children, we see open storybooks.
Join Nkoli Modu every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. on Environment Reports. Welcome back. The 25th NOG Energy Week has just ended in Abuja. What were the issues that shaped conversations at the conference? Stay with me as I take you through what transpired at that conference that brought together key players, both local content operators in the oil and gas and energy sector in Nigeria. The exhibition floor tells a story of ambition. From locally manufactured chemicals and engineering solutions to marine services, security technology, and gas infrastructure, Nigerian companies are showcasing innovations aimed at strengthening local content and reducing dependence on imports. For indigenous businesses, the message is simple. With the right policies and investment, local companies can power Nigeria's energy transformation. The 25th NOG Energy Conference also became a platform for major commitments. Opening the event, NNPC Limited's Group Chief Executive Officer Bashir Ojulari called for stronger collaboration across the energy industry, saying partnerships remain the key to unlocking Africa's vast energy potential.
Gas is the game. Gas has two things that I want us to keep in mind simply. One, is the source of revenue for us, both in terms of exports and domestic. But secondly, it is the only product that can have, the level of industrial impact on Nigeria than any other hydrocarbon that we have. And we recognize that.
He unveiled the company's one-year performance scorecard, announcing crude oil production of 1.71 million barrels per day, gas production of 7.5 billion standard cubic feet daily, over $20 billion in gas supply agreements, and improved financial transparency.
They should go a step further to help the local practitioners to be able to increase capacity and meet up the demands, because there are genuine demands and pressure on us to deliver most of these services that are capital intensive. There should be medium financing plan for the people.
there should be limited government private partnership to be able to deliver the mega jobs.
The momentum continued with the signing of 6 strategic agreements, including gas supply and transportation deals with partners aimed at accelerating industrialization and strengthening Nigeria's energy security.
In fact, Ocean Marine Solutions Limited is a pioneer in the maritime security space. So we believe that development is continuous, and the maritime security space is a developing space, and we continue to give in our quota.
If you look at that screen there, whatever that is shown out there is a software we wrote in-house. And that software has the ability to be able to draw in all the intelligence from body cameras, voice, radio frequency, satellite imagery into one, so that we have now the ability to be able to make very informed decisions before we respond.
But local content operators say more support is needed. Manufacturers, marine service providers, and security firms are urging the government to improve access to finance, create a more competitive business environment, and deepen local participation across the energy value chain.
From billion-dollar investment commitments, landmark gas agreements, and renewed calls for stronger collaboration, conversations at the 25th NOG Energy Week in Abuja have made one thing clear. Nigeria is positioning natural gas as a bridge to industrial growth, energy, and lower carbon future. The real test, however, is on how quickly these agreements can translate into jobs, projects, and reliable energy that Nigerians can feel, see, and touch in their daily lives. Key stakeholders in the environment sector gathered in Abuja for the 3rd session of the Nigeria Socio-Ecological Alternatives Convergence. This year's event has as its theme deforestation, mining, and the crisis of human security in Nigeria. Stay with me as I bring you details of conversations at that event.
The 3rd Nigeria Socio-Ecological Alternatives Convergence in Abuja brought together environmental experts, traditional rulers, youth, civil society groups, and community leaders to examine the growing links between deforestation, mining, and human security under the theme Deforestation, Mining, and the Crisis of Human Security in Nigeria. Participants said the environmental crisis goes beyond disappearing forests and mineral extraction, pointing to the loss of farmlands, polluted rivers, and the displacement of communities whose livelihoods depend on healthy ecosystems. Convener of the conference and founder of Health of Mother Earth Foundation, Nemo Basi, said environmental recovery is impossible without ending destructive logging and irresponsible mining.
The logic of extraction in Nigeria has been destroying the environment, extending the environmental cost to the people, not caring about what happens to the communities. If we use the same idea, then mining is going to devastate the entire nation. Now, all was restricted to Niger Delta, but mineral mining is all across the nation. So it will be a very sad day for Nigeria if we use the same logic of careless extraction to extract minerals for whatever reason.
Keynote speaker Professor Omolade Adumbi urged Nigeria to pursue a just energy transition that prioritizes community consent, accountability, and ecological restoration.
The question that we should ask is at whose cost and who benefits from all of this, because many of the resources that are being used to produce these solar panels are coming from communities of extraction. And if we do not respect the rights of these communities and particularly the rights of the communities to have access to own their own property, because those are community properties, then we might be going the way of the Niger Delta again in Nigeria, which is despoliation, dispossession, and of course environmental destruction.
The convergence also raised concerns over Nigeria's rapid loss of forests and the environmental impact of illegal and artisanal mining. Traditional rulers warned that polluted water sources, abandoned mine pits, and degraded farmlands continue to threaten rural livelihoods, food security, and public health.
Together, we will examine the stark realities on the ground and develop robust, actionable advocacy strategies. Our voices are our strongest tools. We must use this space to build regional and national solidarity, ensuring that the voices of the most vulnerable are amplified and translated into meaningful action.
When you pollute the sea, when you pollute the creeks, even the fishes that you kill in the North Sea or in Miami or somewhere else in this world may have drank out of the water from the brackish water, polluted brackish waters of the Niger Delta. And so someone in White House may just be eating some poisoned fish.
The conference concluded with a strong call for policies that protect forests, restore degraded landscapes, and empower host communities, stressing that Nigeria's journey to a green economy must avoid repeating the environmental mistakes of the